Hi guys, I'm Anita and I'm back with another video, and today I'm going to be doing a tag because I've been tagged a couple of times for this particular tag, and it's called the I Dare You book tag. The I Dare You book tag was created by Rihanna Reads, and I'll leave a link to her original video down below so you can check that out. I was tagged by two people to do this tag. I was tagged by Shannon from Shannon Riddler. I'll leave a link to her video down below, as well as Rhea from Buffinkins, and I'll leave a link to her channel down below as well. Oh, well, her video down below as well as all of the questions for the book tag. This tag has 19 questions, so let's just quickly get into it. The first question is, which book have you had on your shelf, the bookshelf, the longest? For a while there, I thought it was going to be a Harry Potter book, but I think my parents tried to get me to read a lot before that, so they just randomly gave me some books that they thought I would enjoy. I've never read them, so I'm not exactly sure what any of these books are about. But the first one is called Paranoia by Gretelise Holm. I'm not sure what it's about. I don't know why. I don't think it's something I would enjoy at all. I just think my mom gave it to me when she had received it in a magazine or something. I'm not sure. It's a thriller. So yeah, I'm not sure which one is oldest because I got them along the same line. And then the other one is Abdullah's Jewels by Bjarne Reuter, who is a Danish author as well. I know nothing about what this is. Oh, it's a book 5 in the series. Sorry, I need to read a lot of the books to get to this, but I know that Bjarne Reuter wrote a book that I really enjoyed as a child, that was read to me a lot by my dad, and that's called The Two of Us, Oscar Forever. I'm pretty sure that's Bjarne Reuter. Yeah, it has to be. Anyway, that book is about this boy called Max, who has a very vivid imagination, and one day I think he wakes up in the middle of the night and he finds there's a lion in the foot of his bed called Oscar, and the lion Oscar is very, very fond of entrecôtes. So very conveniently, Max's mother has entrecôtes in the fridge, so he goes and gets them while Max is enjoying some licorice bombs, and yeah, it's just really, really fun. And I remember, I don't remember how it got there, but I just remember vividly a picture or an illustration of Max walking a stroller with Oscar the lion in it, dressed up as a baby with a baby hat and stuff. That was kind of fun. I need to reread that book because I think it as far as I remember, it was really fun. So I'm going to be rereading that, and I might actually read these books at one point just to see what it is, but I think these are the two books I've had on my shelves the longest. What is your current read, the last read, and the book you'll read next? My current read, I'm currently reading an audio and a physical copy. And my current read is A Gathering of Shadows by V.E. Schwab. I'm 130 pages into it. And I'm also listening to Ghost Story by Jim Butcher. This is book 13 in the Dresden Files series. And I am about a couple of hours into it, and it's 17 hours long, so quite a while to go yet. I recently finished 2 books as well, an audio and an ebook. And the first one of those was Dark Days Club by Alison Goodman. I really enjoyed this book. It was so refreshing to read it, and I ended up giving this a 4 stars. Definitely highly recommend it if you like historical fantasy sort of books. The other day I finished Rosemary and Rue by Seanan McGuire, the first book in the October Days series, and although this is not as good as her book Every Heart a Doorway, I still enjoyed it for the most part. There was some, yeah, so I ended up giving it a 3.5, so yeah. And what I'm planning on reading next, my next read will be Crooked Kingdom. I need to finish this hopefully this month because it's part of the BookTube SFF read-alongs, and I've already read 32 pages, so I'm actually reading it, but I put it down. Yeah, I just thought that maybe Gathering of Shadows would be read a little quicker. I'm not sure. My next audio will I'm not sure about what my next audio will be as of right now. It's very, yeah. It's really hot in here. What book did that everyone liked but you hated? I want to say the last books in Cassandra Clare's 2 series, The Infernal Devices and The Mortal Instruments, both City of Heavenly Fires and Clockwork Princess. I was so bored while I read those. I really did not enjoy them at all. There were some bits in City of Heavenly Fire that I thought was okay when they were wrapping up, but it was way over 600 pages, I know that. I think it was 700 pages. And it was just so drawn out. It didn't need to be 700 pages. It really didn't. And the same goes for the Clockwork Princess, but everyone seems to give them 5 stars. I just didn't really like them. What book do you keep telling yourself you'll read, but you probably won't? I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind was It by Stephen King, because I'm scared of clowns, but I really want to read it, so I don't know if I'll ever get to it. But I'm actually getting more and more closer to actually feel like I want to pick it up, so that won't really work, I think. But I also want to say just classics in general. There's a lot of classics that I want to read, but I probably won't because I end up bowing out because I'm not very much a classic reader. Yeah, but I don't know. And the next question is, what books are you saving for retirement? Probably some that are really, really sophisticated that I don't really feel like reading right now. I don't know. I'm also thinking sometimes a lot of these suspense novels, adult suspense thriller novels that I've actually started. Books like from Steve Berry. I really enjoy Steve Berry's writing and I really enjoy those books. But I don't feel like reading them right now, but maybe I'll eventually get back to them when I'm older. I don't know if I'll save them for retirement, but these are sort of books I think, yeah, I'll get to them eventually, sometime in a lot of years when I'm not, because there's going to be a time when I really don't want to read young adult books any longer, so I gotta get them out of the way first, I think. Question number 6 is last page. Read it first or wait till the end? Definitely wait till the end. I never read the last page. I might check to see how long it is, and I might sort of see ahead if a chapter, just to see how many pages a chapter I have left of a chapter, but I never really read ahead. Sometimes I'll skim read sections that I find boring, but I never really just read ahead and not skip things completely or just to the back of the book. Oh wait, I did that once. I have to admit that. I was reading a Nora Roberts book that I really didn't care for. I had to hand it back in at the library, so I read the last chapter just to find out who did it before I handed it in. And yeah, I didn't really care about the book anyway, so that was the only time I've done it. Question number 7 is acknowledgements, waste of paper or interesting aside. For the most part, I don't read acknowledgements at all, but sometimes, especially with Steve Berry's books, I like to read the author's note just to find out which things that were actually accurate and factual that he built his stories upon, and which things he added to make it work with his story. But that's the only times I've actually been reading author's notes or something like that. Acknowledgements, no, but author's notes sometimes. Which book character would you trade places with? Ooh. I don't want to go into any of the fantasy worlds because I think I'll die pretty quickly. I really don't know, but for some reason the obvious choice would be not Harry Potter himself, maybe, but I'd like to go to Hogwarts. So just without all of the dark fighting. Maybe it's not so terrible. I'm Ravenclaw. I'm not going to get into all of those fights and intrigues, I think. Just like as Gryffindor and Slytherins will do, so yeah. I don't know. But I guess the obvious choice is probably I want to go to Hogwarts, so yeah. Name a book that reminds you of something specific in life. Place, time, or person. Well, the book that I talked about earlier, Os to Oscar for Evigt, It's a book that I really associate with my father because he always read them to us and he was always laughing so much when he was reading them. So this is sort of a fun memory I have with that book. And yeah, it was before I actually started reading, so I think that I can remember everything about that book. So much about that book is actually really a great thing. I think next one, name a book that you acquired in an interesting way. I don't know if I've ever acquired books in an interesting way. I tend to just buy them or get them from the library or something like that. I don't really have an answer for this one. Sorry, I have to skip this. And the next one, have you ever given a book away for a special reason or special person? I don't think I've given books away that were mine because no one really were interested in those books. Yeah, and another boring answer, I'm sorry. Which book has been with you most places? I think it's Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire, this copy where I've lost the Dutch jacket. First of all, it's been all of the places I've been living, almost, except my birth, where I sort of grew up the first years, because I got this while I was still living at home, but it was just before I moved out. And I have been living 6 different places since then. And I've also had this along with me to several places while I was reading it, on the train, on buses, whatever. Anyway, I've taken this everywhere with me because I've read this, but through this the most times, I think, of the Harry Potter books. That's also why it's one of my favorites. I know it's backwards and forwards, so yeah. This one, I think. Any required reading that you hated in high school, but that you liked 2 years later when you read it again? I haven't really read any of the books later that I was supposed to read in high school or school. I think I was really terrible with required reading in school. I didn't really read it. I just didn't, and hoped that the teacher wouldn't ask me any questions and sell me out, but story of my life. Nope, I don't know. Don't have an answer to this one. Used or brand new? Well, obviously I like having used books, but they're a lot more expensive, so I'm really happy I found some places where I can buy used books, and I can get a lot more used books for the same amount of money I would spend for one new book, so that's exciting. And sometimes it's nice to see a book that has character because it's been read through a couple of times. And the next question is, have you ever read a Dan Brown book? And yes, I've read The Lost Symbol, the middle one. I didn't read the first 2 because I watched the movie adaptation, so I just started with Lost Symbol. I haven't read Inferno. I'm not sure. These are some of the books that I probably will wait for the retirement. I don't have an interest in them now, but I might read them at a later time. Who knows? Have you ever seen a movie that you like more than the books? I have 2 for this one. One of them shouldn't come to a surprise to you if you've been on my channel for the whole deal. But if you didn't know, I grew up with watching the Jurassic Park movie. This is the trilogy. But I'm referring to the first one, the original one. I've read the book. I read the Jurassic Park book last year. And while I enjoyed Jurassic Park, the book, I just enjoyed the movie that much more. I think I enjoyed the characters. They were very different in the book, especially Hammond, and yeah, but at least my favorite characters, Malcolm and Dr. Grant, were more or less the same in the book and the movie, so that was really interesting. But loved the book, but loved the movie more because, yeah, it's one of my favorite movies of all time. The other one is Stardust. I read Stardust by Neil Gaiman in 2014, I think, and I also really enjoyed this. I think I gave it 4 stars, but I love this movie. I think the movie is really, really great. And yeah, I think it's better than the book. And those 2 are my answers for that one. The next question is, have you ever read any book that made you hungry? Cookbooks are also allowed for this one. I mean, they eat a lot of things in Harry Potter, but I don't really think I ever really get hungry while I'm reading those. And also A Song of Ice and Fire, he also vividly describes what they're all eating. And also not really. I do sometimes feel like I really want to make all these things when I read some cookbooks, but I don't always end up doing it because, yeah, I don't think it's always that exciting to cook dinner for yourself. But yeah, I'm trying to read a lot by the LCHF principles. So I have this cookbook and it has a lot of interesting recipes in it, just both desserts and other things. And one of the things that I really want to make soonish, or at some point over the summer maybe, which makes no sense since it's a soup, but that is a fish soup and it looks quite nice. Yeah. And the next question is, who is the person whose book advice you would always take? For people in real life, I'm probably gonna say my brother. I'm listening to a lot of what he's saying about books that he's reading and how he's critiquing them. And I often tend to read books that he really has been enjoying. Sometimes also my dad, but I think me and my brother has more similar tastes in books than me and my dad, even though my dad, he reads a lot of paranormal books, which I think is kind of fun. He's read some of the series that I started ages ago and he just binge read them. So he's ahead of me in those series now because I'm terrible at finishing up the series that I'm working on because I don't binge read any longer. And the next one is the book that's out of your comfort zone that you ended up loving. Well, again, I told you not long ago that I convinced myself I didn't like science fiction, which is stupid because I'm a very logical thinking person. I like watching science documentaries on TV and I like have a definite answer and all of that. But yeah, then I read The Martian. First I put The Martian on my TBR, then I removed it again because I was like, yeah, I'm not gonna like this because it's going to be too science heavy. And then I put it back on again because I wanted to read it. And it was one of my favorite reads of last year. Definitely a book that I really enjoyed. And as I said, it's stupid that I've told myself that it's out of my comfort zone. So I don't know if this exactly works for this. But another book that is out of my comfort zone that I really enjoyed, I think, is probably going to be The Clan of the Cave Bear by Sean M. Awell. I don't read a lot of historical fiction, and this is set in the Neolithic time period. I think that's what it's called, back when in the Stone Ages, and I enjoyed this one a lot more than I thought I would. But I have still not read on in it, but I gave it a 4.5 when I read it, so yeah. These were all of the questions for the I Dare You tag. I'm supposed to tag someone, aren't I? I don't know who has done this tag actually. I think it's run around for quite a while and I've seen a lot of people doing it. But if they haven't done it yet, then I'm going to be tagging Riley from RM Fickfack and Michael from Michael's Shelf. So yeah, these two have been tagged, and if they haven't done it, they should do it. If they have done it, I'm sorry I didn't notice. But yeah, anyway, this is all I had for you today. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and I'll see you in my next video very soon. Goodbye!